don't have anybody in the audience. How about that? It's all staff. You can go fast. I'm going to leave you where you are. You're not coming over here next to me. Gone dark. Good evening. Welcome to the City of Sugar Land City Council meeting for Tuesday, July the 5th. A little bit about tonight's agenda. In a minute, Jennifer Lane is going to deliver the invocation and the pledge. Following that, we'll have public comment, and then we'll go on to the agenda. Jennifer.
Please stand for our prayer and pledge. Dear God, thank you for this opportunity to gather together today in this great nation in freedom to discuss the business of local government and to pray openly over our great city. We lift up all of our local leaders. We ask that you provide them with wisdom and right judgment to make the best decisions to move us forward in a way that's pleasing to you. We ask that you watch over our city employees and cast a shield of protection over our frontline workers. And we ask that you hold our residents near and dear to your heart and protect them with your love. God, we ask that you guide us to do your will in all things that bring us closer as a community and as a family of Sugar Land. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Jennifer. Item number 2 is public comment. Thomas, do we have anybody signed up?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor.
Anyone from the audience would like to speak on one of the agenda items except for the public hearing? Move on to item number 3, consent agenda. All the items on the consent agenda will be taken with one motion, unless the council member wants to pull an item, at which time we'll have that one item pulled, and we'll discuss it from the dais, and then we'll vote on it. Do I have a motion? A motion by Kermali. Do I have a second? Second by McCutcheon. You'll vote at this time, please. Go ahead and do a hand vote. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. Item number 4, public hearing, 4A. Public hearing, receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on a proposed change in zoning from general business B2 and business office BO districts to restricted industrial M1 district for approximately 22.2 acres of land located along Stiles Lane near Derry Ashford Road. And we have Miss Brittany Chow. Hi, Brittany.
Good evening, Commissioners. So the subject area is located north of US Highway 98 and east of Derry Ashford along Stiles Lane. And this area was incorporated into the city of Sugar Land in 1959. These tracts are zoned a mixture of B2 and BO, and they are adjacent to light industrial and office uses in the area. The city had received a request from the applicant to consolidate several B2 tracts and rezone them to M1. The city took this as an opportunity to rezone several other properties adjacent to the subject properties in order to create more consistent zoning. That way, all of this area will be zoned as M1. As mentioned before, there are a mix of uses such as industrial and office. So this really allows for compatible M1 future development. And the city staff has found that M1 is compatible with the future land use map as this area is designated as light industrial. Here is a tract description map of the subject properties that are proposed to be rezoned. So the applicant originally applied for rezoning for the site in yellow and the sites in red. And the city took the opportunity to include the other properties in blue and green. So in green is a large city-owned regional detention pond, and then in blue is a privately owned drainage tract. Here are some example uses that are permitted in M1. So it's important to note that all existing uses in these subject tracts are allowed in M1 and can continue to function as such. For instance, Live Oak Grill is one of the included tracts, and restaurants are allowed by right in M1. And then offices and research are also permitted by right. Here is the future land use map in this area. As you can see, it is designated as light industrial, which is defined in the land use plan as offices, light manufacturing, small scale assembly, etc. And typically you'll find these areas located along major highways and major arterials, as well as having close access to freight rail. So your points for consideration: the owners of lots 1 and 2 of Dreher subdivision and the Avalon office condominiums applied in order to allow for the future development of a flex industrial building and office condominiums. And thus the city decided to take this opportunity to rezone the lots east and south of Stiles Lane in order to create more consistent zoning and to prevent piecemeal zoning in Sugar Land. And this proposed rezoning would allow for future redevelopment under M1 regulations, which would be compatible with the surrounding existing area. This is consistent with the future land use plan and thoroughfare plan. And please note that any future uses permitted by right in M1 would require site plan submittal, including examining traffic, lighting, and noise. And any uses requiring a CUP would, as usual, be brought forward to P&Z and Council. And P&Z Commission did recommend approval of rezoning. So to recap the previous P&Z meeting, a public hearing and CNA were held on the same night on June 14th. There was one property owner of one of the tracts that attended and spoke informally, and we made sure to address their comments, and approval was passed unanimously, and we have not received any inquiries since then. Therefore, staff recommends holding a public hearing followed by the first reading of ordinance number 2269 Stiles Lane rezoning, and to hold a second reading at a subsequent meeting. And I am open to questions after the public hearing. Thank you.
Thank you, Brittany. This time we're going to go ahead and open the public hearing and ask if anyone in the audience would like to speak in this particular item. Second call. Okay. We're going to go ahead and close the public hearing. We're going to move to first consideration. Consideration of an action on the City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2269. An ordinance to the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, providing for a change of zoning from general business B2 and business office BO districts to restricted industrial M1 district for approximately 22.2 acres of land located along Stiles Lane, directly north of US Highway 90A near Derry, Ashford. Council members, any questions of Brittany? Go ahead.
Brittany, if you don't mind, can you go back to the map? You mentioned Live Oak Grill.
Mm-hmm.
I just
Yeah.
want to, so I get my bearings straight, I want to know where.
Yes, sir.
I know
can-
Live Oak Grill, I just want to see where that land is.
The yellow tract, I think.
Yellow is Live Oak?
Yeah.
No.
This top red tract is Live Oak Grill.
Okay. So it's everything then from Live Oak to Highway 90?
Yes, sir.
And then across the street is where,
That is a
That's
city-owned
detention.
regional detention pond.
Yeah,
perfect.
it's detention.
Excellent. No further questions, Mayor.
Sir, motion to approve.
Got a motion by Watley. Do we have a second? Yes, second by Lane. Do you vote at this time, please? And it passed 7-0. Thank you, council. Item number 5, contracts and agreements. 5A, consideration of an action on authorization of a construction contract with CFG Industries LLC in the amount of $1,047,125 for the rehab of the Greatwood East and Greatwood West ground storage tanks, ground storage tank rehab project, CIP, CWA 2201. We've got our Assistant City Engineer, Andrea Bratton. Andrea?
Yes, good evening. Good to see you guys. Today we have the contract for construction for the rehabilitation of the Greatwood East and Greatwood West ground storage tanks and rehabilitation project. All right, what's the trick here? Okay, thank you. All right, so a little project background for this construction project. This is part of our annual ground storage tank rehab program. This is the construction phase of it. It included the inspection and evaluation that was completed back in November 2021. And the design was completed recently in April 2022. It includes the 0.5 mg Greatwood East storage tank and the 1 mg Greatwood West storage tank. It's just a quick snapshot of a location map for you guys. They're both in Greatwood. Obviously, one's on the east and one's on the west. The project scope for this construction project is going to be rehabbing the components of the ground storage tanks. This includes the interior wet and dry spaces and interior and exterior coating, replacing roof rafters, interior piping, and any appurtenances we find in there that need to be replaced, and of course, landscaping restoration at the conclusion of the project. Oops, sorry about that. Regarding the contractor selection, the invitation to bid was advertised April 20th and April 27th of 2022. The pre-bid meeting was held on May 2nd, with the bids opening on May 12th, where we received 9 bids. This is a snapshot of the bid summary. The bids were pretty tight, anywhere from a little over $1 million to $1.6 million from all the bidders. Our engineer's estimate was $1,055,000, where the low bid came in under that at $1,047,125. Regarding the project funding for the project, available budget for CWA 2201 is $1,167,785. The funding needs for this construction phase of the project is the construction base bid that we received was the $1,047,125, with a contingency of 5%, a little over $52,000, and the construction administration that will be provided during this phase for $20,720, with the total funds needed for the construction phase of $1,120,201.20. Staff recommends a total award or award of the total base bid in the amount of $1,047,125. Regarding the schedule, we anticipate that following this meeting, if the project is approved, the notice to proceed will be in September 2022, with substantial completion in May of 2023. Regarding the construction impacts and notification, both of these projects are actually on city property, so they won't be in other private property of anyone around there. We don't anticipate any water service interruptions, and this is fully encased during the blasting and coating phase of the rehab. Notification plan per policy CO-110. We look forward to doing the door hangers for the surrounding residents and locations. We don't anticipate any mail outs needed or one-on-one communication, but we will take advantage of those opportunities as needed. So with that being said, staff recommends approval of a construction contract with CFG Industries LLC for the rehabilitation of the Greatwood East and Greatwood West storage tank CIP CWA 2201 in the amount of $1,047,125. And the contractor is in attendance here. Mr. David Cudrell is in the back as well.
Any questions for Andrea? Let's start with Carol.
Yeah, now, so how often are the ground storage tanks rehabbed?
So we have kind of an annual program of design, construction. As far as the lifespan of
Right, that's
them-
what I was asking, a lifespan.
Okay, that's,
That's what I'm asking. What's the lifespan of when you rehab? How long does it last? Yeah.
right, yeah. So it just depends on what elements that are being replaced or rehabbed. If they're, some major components, and those major components have a longer lifespan than more of the minor components. So it could be anywhere from, 10 up to, more than 15 years on sometimes. But, if some of the coating, if it gets weathered and, different things happen, and they're identified during the evaluation and analysis, then staff will take action to prevent any, major downtime on any of our services.
Okay. And now, who gets paid the construction administration fee?
So that will be the design consultant
Okay.
who did the design. And so during the construction administration, like the services that are provided are if there's any questions about the plans during construction, if there's any requests for information, RFIs from the contractor. They also provide on-site, periodic inspection just to make sure the project is being built in accordance with the specs and plans.
Thank
They
you.
review the shop drawings, they might.
Yes, sir, yeah,
Further
they review the
construction estimate.
submittals to make sure that, what they're submitting to use, proposing to use on the project is in compliance as well.
Michelle?
Andre, the notice to proceed is in September, this being so far early in July. Is there a reason that we're waiting until September?
That's a great question. Yeah, so the reason why we do that is that we don't want to jeopardize any water services and kind of the peak of water usage time. So we had an opportunity to go ahead and bid this and get it primed up and ready to go as soon as we get out of that frame. We work with Public Works to kind of define that window of opportunity there.
Suzanne?
It's okay. Now, piggybacking on Carol's question, because mine was pretty much the same, I wanted more clarification on the cycle of the rehabilitation program and then the lifetime of the tanks. So you did that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Michelle, you want to have a motion? Motion by Kamali, do I have a second? Got a second by Ferguson? You vote at this time, please. And it is a 7-0 vote. Thank you, council members. Item number 6, ordinances and resolutions. 6A, first and final consideration of an action on City of Sugar Land ordinance number 2271, an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Sugar Land, Texas, amending the fiscal year budget 2021 to 2022 for the City of Sugar Land, Texas, to provide that the revised budget address funds relating to the general fund, the utility fund, the airport fund, and that this amendment be adopted as the budgeted amount for those funds. Scott Butler, our Director of Budget and Strategy. Scott.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. So this evening, we're here to consider a budget amendment for FY22. Just a little background on budget amendments. First, the budget is adopted through ordinance each year. Additional appropriations require council approval through an ordinance. The reason why we do this in terms of budget amendments is the opportunity to capture either additional revenue or expenditures, and also allows us to create a more accurate picture of our year-end position. In this case, we are considering additional expenditures for the FY22 budget. And of course, we can do this because of the hallmark on what we're built on as an organization, and that is our leadership and financial stewardship. First of all, we approach a budget with a financially conservative approach. We strive to limit the residential tax burden, and then we also look at the opportunities and risks that are there. And those can be on an annual basis, or in the current economic conditions that we stand in, they can be on a tighter time frame. But it's a matter of us looking at those opportunities and risks and making decisions that put the city in a good position to provide valuable service. So as far as the FY22 budget update, and we've talked about this in a few different settings with council, First, the FY22 budget that was adopted was conservative for a purpose. As we came out of the pandemic and as we looked at different economic challenges, the budget that was adopted was very conservative. But we've seen sales tax revenues continue to outpace our projections. And so there's an opportunity for us to invest further in our community. That investment comes whether it's through facilities, through our staff, or through the services that are provided. Ultimately, we strive to maintain long-term flexibility, and we build the budget according to that. So I'm going to talk about each of the opportunities for community investment. They're basically broken down into four main categories. First, public safety, our champion workforce, strategic outcomes, and then our ability to make sure that we have reliable infrastructure in place to provide good service. First, under public safety, it's approximately $1.2 million. It's the opportunity to advance the final phase of the public safety compensation plan, part of a study that was completed several years ago. Phase 3 was scheduled to be implemented in July of 2023. The direction was provided to our city manager when the budget was adopted to look for opportunities to advance that funding. We're confident that we can do so. We also recognize that while it's significant that we can advance it a year, that there is additional work that we need to do from a public safety compensation standpoint, that this is a study that was several years old. And so we'll be continuing to work to identify opportunities to look at public safety compensation going forward. In addition to that, there is funding for fire apparatus equipment, some HVAC improvements to dispatch, some training equipment for the police department, and then there are several items related to aging equipment replacement for both police and fire. As far as our workforce, there are compensation enhancements to support our dedicated and exceptional workforce. There's three main things that we're trying to accomplish. First is our opportunity to move to the FY22 salary structure changes. The second is to adjust salaries for staff that are earning less than $70,000. We tend to look at those staff as the most impacted by the current inflationary and economic pressures that exist. Then there's also some funding in there for a one-time payment for staff, as we previously discussed with council, for those staff earning less than $70,000. We have done some work with human resources. We talked about with council about the possibility to increase that to be able to gross the amounts that we talked about. And we've been able to do that with this funding to ensure that those tiers, $1,000, $750, $500, and $250 can be met gross after our other TMRS and tax obligations are met. Under council strategic outcomes, these are the 14 what we call all-in initiatives. We call them all-in because they're designed to have staff from all levels of the organization working together to try to accomplish these things. This is just an example of some of the areas that they're working in, whether it's redevelopment, reinvestment, placemaking, community safety, and alternative revenues. What this funding will allow us to do is as projects are identified in these and the other 14, the rest of the 14 initiatives, there will be funding to support those projects as we try new things in terms of accomplishing the council strategic outcomes. Under reliable infrastructure, some further investment in the community in the form of sidewalks, some needed facility improvements, and then also some rehab work at Cullinan Park. A total of approximately $1.3 million. This is a summary of the impact to the general fund and the allocations that I've described. The impact to the general fund is approximately $3.2 million. It should be noted that the other funds that are impacted by the compensation changes include the utility fund and airport. So I've noted the additional amounts required there. It's approximately $90,000 for the utility fund and then $60,000 for the airport fund. And those have been discussed and noted with those fund managers. So our recommendation is approval of a first and final reading of ordinance 2271, amending the fiscal year 2022 budget, $3,351,208 in additional expenditures.
Councilmember, we covered this in the workshop last week. Any questions? Carol?
Yeah, as we discussed in the workshop last week, so regarding the one-time payment to employees, so how long would they need to have been employed with the city before they would be eligible to receive the one-time payment?
So I believe as it's structured right now, they would have to be employed for at least 6 months. And then at that point, they would be eligible for that payment.
Okay, and then how long do they need to remain an employee after receiving the bonus without having to repay it?
It would be 6 months, and the mechanism to allow the city manager to do that is in place.
Okay, thank you.
Suzanne?
Thank you. So you mentioned that we had talked about that one-time payout being net, and it was kind of a small amount, so you upped it to the gross amount?
That's correct.
Do you have a number on that difference? It's probably not that big.
I don't have an exact number. I believe it's approximately $200,000.
Oh, good. Okay. So everyone's getting gross.
Correct.
And we are keeping at the levels we talked about. We're not upping it.
We are not adjusting the levels that we just previously discussed.
Okay, good.
Correct.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Do I have a motion? Got a motion by McCutcheon. Do I have a second? Second by Lane. Vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. Item number 7, appointment. 7A, consideration of an action on appointment of Joe Zimmerman, Mayor, and Ashed Kermali, Sugarland 4B Corporation representative, and Carol McCutcheon as the representative for the Sugarland Development Corporation for a term ending May 31st, 2023. Do I have a motion? Motion to approve. Got a motion by Lane. Do I have a second? Got a second by Watley. You vote at this time, please. And it passes 7-0. Thank you, council members. Item number 8, city manager reports. 8A, city council member reports. I'm going to go first. Jennifer, I want to thank you for outstanding service during the mayor pro tem. Stewart, I think I want to welcome you, but I'm not quite sure yet. But we're going to, I want to thank council members for their services on their committees. I think everybody's seen the reordering. We passed it earlier tonight. I think everybody got their first choice, which is, to my knowledge, since I've been mayor, that's the first time everybody's been able to get their first choice. So that was kind of nice. So thank you all for your service. And Jennifer, let's move to you.
I'm going to save it for the rest of the council members. We were all together at all the events.
I'm interested to hear about this. Jacobson, Stewart?
Mayor, your vote of confidence has filled me with such excitement that I can't remember what I've done in the last couple of weeks, but I know it was a lot.
I have no doubt it was a lot, Stewart. William?
I'm still shaken by the Stewart announcement. No, I'm just kidding. Great week, great festivities yesterday. Love
Red, white, and
Sugarland.
boom.
Oh, yeah, it was a great night. Thank you to everybody. I know our staff worked extra hard, not only last night, but it looked like about a week beforehand, physically setting up the event yesterday. And on behalf of my family, I can't thank our staff enough in our city. It's great to live here in this beautiful city and certainly this great country.
Thank you, William. Carol?
Yes, I'd also like to thank staff for a great celebration last night. And also yesterday, I attended the Commonwealth HOA July 4th celebration event.
LaShawn?
Exactly what William said. Ditto.
Suzanne?
Well, ditto, thank you guys. But the one thing I did that I have to, is he here? No, he's not here. It's Doug Schomburg's retirement. Congratulations for 22 and a half years of you bet.
23. Yeah,
Thank you.
good job. Mike?
Couple things, Mayor. First off, we had about 20 to 25,000 of our closest friends there yesterday. We had 125 staff and over 30 volunteers working to make that happen. And I was really proud of us having fireworks. A lot went into that. It was a decision we felt good about, but the amount of work staff did to make that happen, really impressive. Also wanted to I had the opportunity to sit in with dispatch last week, and what an opportunity that was. And oftentimes we just think about them getting calls. You don't realize the importance they have in officer safety and just how to manage everything. I was blown away. I know I couldn't do that job, so I wanted to thank them. And then our airport set the all-time record for gallons sold in June, and they are doing a phenomenal job out there. So that's it, Mayor.
Congratulations. Approve? We're approving a journey.
I know.
We're adjourned at 5:58.